The truth is out there, and it's strange. Scientists have confirmed the existence of at least 4,000 other planets in the universe, and some of them have some truly bizarre features. Here are 21 weird things on other planets that scientists once thought impossible. Number 21. GJ1214b. Earth is a world dominated by water, with its massive oceans taking up more than 2/3 of the world's surface area. These oceans hold a massive ecosystem, but our world is still dominated by land life forms. But surrounding a star 48 light-years from the Sun is another world, GJ1214b, that may take being a water world to a whole new level. Scientists have observed this world through powerful telescopes and discovered that it has water, a lot of water. In fact, the entire planet may be covered in one massive ocean, with any land being deep underwater, which makes it potentially a world full of life. It's a large planet classified as a super-Earth and has a relatively low density. It has a similar structure to the ice moon Europa, which orbits Jupiter, and NASA observed what looks like clouds in the atmosphere surrounding the planet in 2013. That makes GJ1214b one of the best potential worlds cited for alien life, and its relative closeness to the Sun makes it a planet of interest to astronomers. It's likely that a water world would have regions that are frozen solid, but life could exist easily within more temperate regions. But another world provides a far less welcoming environment. Number 20. OGLE 2005 BLG 390LB. Let's head to the far reaches of the universe, close to 25,000 light-years away from the Earth, where we find one of the most distant exoplanets ever discovered. But as if being so isolated wasn't enough, there's another reason this planet is one of the least hospitable in the universe. It orbits a red dwarf star, one of the weakest in the universe. This provides very little heat, turning any planet that orbits it into a frozen wasteland. How cold? It's estimated to have a surface temperature of -364 degrees Fahrenheit. What would the surface be like on a planet this cold? For one thing, everything would be frozen. Everything on the planet would be covered by a thick coating of ice amid mountains and plains. Any organic matter on the surface of this planet would be frozen solid in seconds and become just another ice sculpture on the surface. It's highly unlikely anything could survive this icebox of a planet, at least on the surface, but it's impossible to know what exists deep under the surface. The ice coating has likely been in place for millions of years, and if the planet has a heated core, it's unlikely but possible that something could be lurking under the depths. But what about a planet that's, fluffy? Number 19. TRES-4b. Welcome to one of the largest planets in the known universe, orbiting a star in the constellation Hercules. It's only about 1,400 light-years from Earth and is close to twice the size of the gas giant Jupiter. But it's not the size that makes it unique, it's its bizarre chemical makeup. It's very close to its star, meaning the planet's surface can reach temperatures as high as 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. It rotates around its star in only 3 days, under intense heat and pressure the whole time, which has given it a consistency unlike anything else known in the universe. And if you can stand the heat, it might be nice to lay your head on. Scientists believe the consistency of TRES-4b is best described as puffy. It has roughly the consistency of cork. It has a density of about 1/3 gram per cubic centimeter. This is the lowest density of any planet known when it was discovered. With its star being large, strong, and powerful, it created ideal conditions for the planet to soften and expand while barely holding its integrity together. Someone who was on this planet could probably tear off a chunk and take it home if they weren't too busy being burnt to a crisp. But one planet is truly seeming to defy physics. Number 18. HD 106906b. This planet seems like it would be relatively easy to examine. At under 350 light-years from the Earth in the constellation Crux, it's far from the most distant or bizarre planets astronomers have discovered, but what they have discovered is very strange. Namely, this planet seems to operate in defiance of every other rule of planetary makeup. It's extremely distant from its Sun, a whopping 60 billion miles, which is more than 20 times the difference between the Sun and Neptune. Any planet this far from its star would be freezing cold. So, why is it so scorching hot? Estimates are that HD 106906b has a surface temperature of up to 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. It has 11 times the mass of Jupiter, making it incredibly dense. But the source of its shocking heat isn't what you'd expect. It actually makes its own heat. When it was formed, the residual heat created an infrared glow that continues to heat or burn the planet to this day. Scientists are still trying to figure out exactly how a planet could be in orbit this far from a parent star, but right now this strange world remains one of the universe's biggest mysteries. But how about a planet that's all too familiar familiar. Number 17. Kepler-438b. NASA is constantly keeping its eye out for planets that could hold life, and they use the Earth Similarity Index to judge each candidate. They compare radius, mass, and surface conditions, and one planet has a record high rating of 0.88, hiding within the orbit of Kepler-438. Its orbit is fairly similar to Earth's, meaning it exists in a habitable zone where water could exist in liquid form. In fact, its temperature is similar to Earth as well, with an average in the winter of roughly 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So, is this world truly Earth's twin? Not quite. For one thing, Kepler-438 is a red dwarf star, so its mass and radius are roughly half of the Sun. The star is much dimmer than the Sun, and the planet would be significantly colder. But while it's considered to exist within the habitable zone, the radiation from its star is likely to make the planet a very difficult place to sustain life. Every 100 days, it'll encounter violent storms akin to the more extreme versions of the solar flares that come from our Sun. So if anything can survive these radiation waves on Kepler-438b, odds are it'll look very different from the creatures on our Earth. Color isn't the only thing that sets this next planet apart. Number 16. Gliese 504b. If there was a prize for the most fashionable planet in the galaxy, it would definitely go to this planet surrounding the star 59 Virginis. Around 57 light-years away from Earth, it catches the astronomers' eyes for one reason. It is a stunning state of magenta, which makes it look more like a giant ball of cotton candy than a planet. It gets this color from being a newly formed planet still glowing with heat. So as welcoming as this planet looks, it's more like a warning sign because the gas giant comes in at around 520 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's far from the strangest thing about this planet. It's around the same size as Jupiter, and planets of this huge size aren't all that uncommon, but most of them are only a certain distance from their star. However, Gliese 504b is around 9 times further from its star than Jupiter is from the Sun, making astronomers question how a massive object like this can remain in orbit so far from its star. While it's still classified as a planet, other astronomers have begun speculating it may actually qualify as a brown dwarf, a substellar object that hasn't quite reached the mass to become a star. But one planet may have been there when it all began. Number 15. PSR B1620 26b. Far away from the Earth, over 12,400 light-years away, we enter one of the oldest regions of the universe. So old, in fact, the planet hiding there is nicknamed Methuselah after the ancient biblical figure. This planet is one of the oldest known planets, dating back a whopping 12.7 billion years, more than twice the age of the Earth. So whatever created this planet was likely as close to the Big Bang as anything in the universe has ever been. Its mass is almost twice the size of Jupiter, and its massive orbit takes about 100 years to complete. But that's not the only thing notable about this ancient world. PSR B1620 26b doesn't orbit one star, it orbits two, a fast-spinning pulsar and a white dwarf. These stars also orbit each other at around once every 6 months, and it's believed to be one of the oldest binary star systems in the universe. But the age is one of the few things that actually is impressive about it. The stars are largely burned out and located in a massive field of about 100,000 stars. The neighborhood is full of stellar activity, and the most impressive thing about this far-flung planet is how it managed to survive for billions of years. Who knows what ancient secrets it holds? But it's not the roughest planet in the universe. Number 14. TOI 849b. To the naked eye, TOI 849b seems like an unremarkable world. It looks like a massive rocky planet. In fact, the largest rocky planet ever discovered, almost 40 times as large as the Earth. But it may not have started that way, and the world is located about 741 light-years away from Earth. It has one of the most brutal climates ever discovered in space. It has an extremely tight orbit with its star, rotating around it every single day. That's a lot of birthday cakes. And the close proximity to the star also means it's extremely hot, a whopping 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. So hot, in fact, that it might not look like itself anymore. As big as TOI 849b is, it may have been a lot bigger originally. It's around the size of Neptune, but has no atmosphere. This has led scientists to speculate that the planet may not be a rocky planet at all, but instead the stripped-down, burnt-out core of a massive gas giant. The intense radiation from the star may have caused photoevaporation, the slow stripping of the atmosphere from the world. Almost all planets of this size are gas giants or have a very different texture, but TOI 849b is so radically different, it created a new designation, a Chthonian planet. This next planet takes one feature beyond the impossible. Number 13. 1SWASP J1407b. At around 434 light-years from Earth, In the constellation of Centaurus lurks a huge gas giant that takes after Saturn in one big way. It has rings. This so far is the only exoplanet to be found with rings, but outside of our solar system they apparently do everything bigger, because one SWASP J1407b doesn't just have rings, it has a massive network of rings around 640 times the size of Saturn's. How big are these rings? It's estimated that if this planet was dropped into our solar system, its rings would be clearly visible to the naked eye and would be far larger than the Moon. But that's not the only thing strange about this world. Telescopes have discovered a large gap inside the network of rings, indicating that a moon could be orbiting the planet from within its rings. The rings may also be growing, with debris from objects like comets being pulled in. But the strangest thing about this planet is it disappeared. After being sighted in 2012, it has not been located since, leading scientists to believe its orbit might be highly irregular. The star system is one of the younger ones in the universe, meaning everything about it might be constantly in flux. Now, how about a world of duality? Number 12. Gliese 581c. The Batman villain Two-Face is known for having half of his face scarred, with one side being good and the other side being evil. He'd be right at home on Gliese 581c, one of the most unique planets in the universe, located only 20 light-years from Earth in the Libra constellation. It's much closer to the star than Earth is to the Sun. But what makes it unique is that it's tidally locked, meaning that one side is always facing the star and the other is always in darkness. This results in two completely different climates on the planet at all times. But could it be home to life? Not on most of the planet, that's for sure. The side facing the star is always burning, with climate similar to Mercury or Venus. The dark side of the planet is a frozen wasteland, incompatible with any form of life that we know. But at the sides of the planet where the two climates meet is a tiny strip of land known as the Terminator Zone. Here it is possible that climates are moderate enough for life to flourish, and the planet is Earth-like enough that scientists actually sent a radio message to the planet in hopes of making first contact. This next planet begs the question, how hot can you get? Number 11. WASP-12b. The name of this planet might create images of a nighttime world filled with evil stinging insects. They may be thankfully confined to B-movies, but this real thing is no less deadly. Located around 1400 light-years from Earth, this planet is one of the hottest in the universe. Located only 1/44th of the distance from its star as Earth is from the Sun, this Jupiter-like planet is believed to reach burning temperatures of up to 4600 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's no respite from the heat because it orbits its star every single day. And it's only getting hotter from here. The temperatures on WASP-12b aren't just enough to kill any life, they're enough to melt metals like titanium. The planet is also extremely dark, one of the most pitch-black planets out there, absorbing light at a rapid rate. While the planet is tidally locked, the dark side can still reach a fiery 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, but it might not be around to be examined much longer. Recent studies indicate it's so close to its star the gas giant is slowly being absorbed into it, and in only 10 million years the fire of planet WASP-12b might be no more. We heard you like Earth, so how about a mega-Earth? Number 10. Kepler-10c. Around 608 light-years away in the constellation Draco is the planet Kepler-10c. It's been observed for some time and it interests NASA particularly because it's a lot like the Earth, just mega-sized. It's one of the largest Earth-like planets ever discovered, weighing 17 times as much as Earth and being almost twice the size. Most planets significantly larger than Earth are gas giants, and scientists actually had to revise their assumptions about planet structure, leading to a new class of world called, you guessed it, mega-Earths. But could mega-Earths have mega-humans? Kepler-10c has a lot in common with Earth, including an atmosphere and the likely presence of both land and water. But it also has a lot of differences. For one thing, its year is only 45 days instead of 365, usually meaning a much closer orbit, and that means a much higher temperature. It's believed that Kepler-10c is almost 4 times as hot as Jupiter and highly unlikely to play host to life. It's also a high-pressure planet, which means most of its water might have been flash-frozen into hot ice. It's a massive, volatile world, but it's not Earth. Sometimes all it takes is one thing to make a planet really strange. Number 10. WASP-17b. No, still not an evil bug planet, but the planets circling around the WASP-17 star certainly seem to attract strangeness. This is another strange puffy planet with a low density, and it's around twice the size of Jupiter. Now officially named Ditzo, the massive planet attracted international attention when they discovered something truly bizarre. It's the first planet ever to be found to have a retrograde orbit, turning around a star in the opposite direction. It seems to defy the laws of gravity itself, as it continuously turns in opposition to its star. But what could have caused this bizarre bizarre condition. Scientists have come up empty on concrete theories, and with WASP-17b being around 1,300 light-years away in the constellation Scorpius, no one's ever getting over there anytime soon. But one thing's for sure, whatever caused it must have been incredibly powerful to override the gravitation impact of the star. A collision with another similar planet or a gravitational slingshot caused by a celestial body could have created the effect millions of years ago. With an average temperature of 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit, it's a highly inhospitable world, no matter the direction it's going. Now let's head to the dark side. Number 8. TRES-2b. At around 750 light-years from Earth, a planet lurks in the shadows. It seems to be a standard gas giant at first, larger than Jupiter, and with a temperature of almost 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But this tidally locked planet has one particularly unique thing about it. No light gets in or out. It's the darkest known exoplanet in the universe, reflecting less than 1% of the light that hits it. This makes the planet one of the darkest objects in the universe, reflecting even less light than coal. But what makes it so dark? To the naked eye, it doesn't even look completely dark. What little light does get reflected off the planet gives off a dim magenta color, making it look more like the ideal hideaway for an intergalactic conqueror. But it's believed the planet doesn't have any reflective clouds like the ones that give Jupiter its distinct colors. It's also much closer to its parent star than Jupiter and may have light-absorbing chemicals in the atmosphere. One thing is for sure, this is a planet that isn't giving away its secrets so easily. But in terms of inhospitable planets, it's hard to top this one. Number 7. Kepler-78b. When it was first discovered in 2013, Kepler-78b looked impressively close to Earth. At the time, in terms of mass, density, and radius, it was actually the planet closest to our home base. But having a similar base and being a similar planet are very different things. And as this planet doesn't live in the Goldilocks zone where life is possible, its climate could not be more different than ours. Instead, it lives in one of the most brutal climates imaginable, located less than 500,000 miles from its host star, more than 40 times closer to it than Mercury is to our sun. And to say that makes things hot would be putting it lightly. The average temperature is close to 3,700 degrees Fahrenheit, but the planet's structure is similar to Earth, rocky and with a molten core. The difference is, with such extreme temperatures, the rocky surface would never have fully formed and hardened. The world will be constantly bubbling with molten rock, making it a planet-wide game of the floor is lava. Kepler-78b is one of the only lava worlds ever found, and it's not likely that anything could survive there, from the closest planet to maybe the most far-flung. Number 6. 2 MASS 21265040-8140293. Yeah, that's a mouthful. The long-named planet isn't all that distinct on its own. It's around 110 light-years from Earth, is between 10 and 45 million years old, and is likely a large gas planet significantly larger than Jupiter. It doesn't have any unique characteristics on its own, but its neighborhood is incredibly strange, because scientists found the planet, but they couldn't find its star. The planet seems to just be floating on its own in space. But is this planet truly operating without a star? The answer is not exactly. The planet, often shortened to 2MASS J21268140, orbits a red dwarf star. This makes its local star both weak and hard to see, which explains why no one could find it. But it's not likely the only reason. This planet also exists in one of the largest solar systems in the universe and is likely the furthest planet away from its star. It's estimated to have a distance of around 1 trillion kilometers from its host star and takes around 900,000 years to complete a rotation. That means that if anyone's thinking about going into business there, do not invest in birthday cakes. But some planets truly do go rogue. Number 5. OTS-44. OTS-44 is a massive object 11 times larger than the mass of Jupiter and at least a quarter of the radius. It's so large that some astronomers think it might not be a planet at all but a brown dwarf. It's located around 550 light-years from Earth in the constellation Chameleon. But it's not necessarily staying there. That's because OT-44 is unique. It doesn't orbit around any star in Chameleon. It's a massive free-floating object and may be the largest rogue planet known in the universe. Rogue planet? That sounds bad. Most rogue planets are much smaller than OT-44, usually consisting of rocky objects that haven't gotten pulled into an orbit or were unmoored by a cosmic collision. So how does OT-44 defy the laws of physics? Despite its massive size, it's actually one of the lowest mass planets to float freely and is believed to have a central disk mostly composed of dust, ice, and rocks. It may not be a planet in the traditional shape, but it's easily one of the strangest objects floating around the universe. Now let's look at a planet with the need for speed. Number 4. PSR J1719-1438b. One of the things that determine the conditions of this planet is its star and proximity to it, and it doesn't get more extreme than this planet. The star it orbits is a millisecond pulsar, or a star with a rotation period of less than 10 milliseconds, less than it takes to blink. PSR J1719 1438b orbits a tiny star that is only around 12 miles in diameter, but it has a greater mass than the Sun. This creates an extremely high-pressure environment, and the close orbit of this planet to the high-powered ball of light means it completes a planetary rotation in just over 2 hours. But what's it like on the surface? When close to a pulsar, the pressure is extremely intense. The planet is believed to be composed of pressurized carbon, but the temperature and pressure are so extreme that its density is likely greater than diamond. This planet is around 4,000 light-years away from Earth, and the exploration of the properties of planets under these conditions is only beginning. But when it was discovered in 2011, it was believed to be the densest planet ever discovered. Now let's head for a planet that could make you rich, if you could get there. Number 3. Janssen. Located about 40 light-years away from us in the Cancer constellation, the planet originally named 55 Cancri e at first seemed to be similar to Neptune. Its close proximity to Earth let scientists study it more closely than many other exoplanets, and what they discovered was surprising. Janssen might be around twice the diameter of Earth, but it is incredibly dense and is mostly composed of carbon. It takes less than 18 hours to complete a rotation and is intensely close to its star, creating extreme pressure. But what's on its surface might be the most interesting part. The surface temperature of Janssen is extreme, rising to about 4,400 degrees Fahrenheit. When combined with the intense pressure and the carbon-rich environment, scientists believe that the surface of Janssen is covered with diamonds, a massive windfall for anyone who gets there to collect them, if they can survive some of the deadliest conditions in the universe. Alas, its riches will have to wait for aliens with much better spacesuits than ours. But it's not the only planet with treasure waiting. Number 2. HAT P7b. About 1,100 light-years away in the constellation Cygnus lies a planet that has many features we've seen before. It's larger than Jupiter and it orbits close to its host star. That makes it extremely hot, well over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. It absorbs more than 97% of the light that reaches it, making it extremely dark. But what makes it unique is its atmosphere. It contains an unusual percentage of aluminum oxide, also known as corundum. And when corundum gets pressurized just right, something strange happens. The planet is frequently hit by violent storms, and the combination of the winds and the pressure on the planet pulls that corundum out of the atmosphere and sends it raining down on the planet in the form of rubies and sapphires. How many of these actually come out of the atmosphere and what condition they're in is unknown, but the wild winds on the planet make it entirely possible that these precious gems could be sprinkled all around the surface of HAT P7b. Now, are you ready to explore the ultimate death world? Number 1. HD 189733b. Located only 64.5 light-years from the solar system, lurking in the constellation of Vulpecula is the planet with maybe the harshest conditions in the universe. But it didn't seem like that at first. In fact, when it was discovered, it probably looked gorgeous. It has a deep blue color, making it look peaceful, almost like Earth. But this larger-than-Jupiter planet has an average temperature of over 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit and has an atmosphere mostly composed of silica. And when things heat up, this planet gets incredibly dangerous. Silica is the building block of sand on Earth, and when sand gets heated up enough, it becomes the foundation of glass. Combine that with the extreme winds on the planet, which can reach over 5,000 miles an hour, 7 times the speed of sound, and you have a recipe for disaster. Not only does it rain glass on this planet, but it actually rains sideways, as sharp shards tear through the air faster than can be seen. So if this planet has any interesting secrets, it's going to be keeping them to itself. For more on our strange solar system, check out the mysterious event that made Venus a death trap.